12 o'clock. Here is the midday news. First, the top stories. Ogun Assembly invites top government officials over 4 billion naira fertilizer credit. Presidency recovers fresh $151 billion and 4 billion naira through whistleblower volunteers. Former Governor Ibori says he knows those behind his UK prison ordeal. Presidency blames metal in food processing for liver and kidney diseases. In foreign, Mexicans protest against Trump's immigration plan and border wall. And homes evacuated in California as U.S. tallest dam faces collapse. Good afternoon, I am Chenya Igbo, bringing you the news and details shortly. State House of Assembly has summoned top officials of the state government over the request to access the credit facility under the federal government Special Fertilizer Intervention Program for the provision of fertilizer to farmers at affordable rates. Invited are Finance and Agriculture Commissioners, as well as the Director General of the State Debt Management Office. They're to appear before the Committee of the Whole House on Tuesday to shed more light on the request of Governor Ibukune Amosun to access the credit to purchase 40,000 metric tons of fertilizers for farmers ahead of the farming season. The Speaker, Suraj Adekunle, issued their invitation to the top government officials during the House plenary last week in Abeokuta. Governor Amosun, in his letter of request, told the lawmakers that the 4 billion naira facility will enable the state government to sell 50 kilograms of fertilizer at 5,000 naira to farmers. Also, the state government will issue irrevocable standing payment order to the Federal Ministry of Finance to guarantee the payment of the 4 billion naira credit. Moshood Abiola Polytechnic at Belkuta will on Thursday, February 16, hold its 2016-2017 matriculation ceremony for all newly admitted full-time national diploma and higher national diploma students. The matriculation ceremony to be presided over by the institution's rector, Professor Oludele Itiola, will hold at the Polytechnic's auditorium at 10 o'clock in the morning. All matriculating students, according to the institution's public relations officer, Sulaiman Adebi, are expected to be in their matriculation gowns and be seated by 9:30 a.m. on Thursday, February 16. Meanwhile, the Polytechnic has advised all returning students and others who are not involved in the matriculation and off-taking ceremony to steer clear of the campus while the ceremony lasts. Students are also advised to visit the Polytechnic's website on www.mapoli.edu.ng or the respective school offices for further details. Presidency says more looted funds totaling $151 million and 8 billion naira have been recovered through the recently introduced whistleblower scheme. The fresh recovery is different from the $9.7 million cash belonging to former Group Managing Director of Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Andrew Yakubu, which was seized from a house in Oslom in Kaduna Metropolis. The biggest of the recovered fresh loot included $136.7 million from an account in a bank where it was kept under a fake account name. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed, who announced this in a statement, explains that the recovery of the $136.7 million was followed by another $15 million, 7 billion naira, and 1 billion naira. The minister says the actionable information leading to the looted fund was provided by whistleblowers to the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. Former Governor James Ibori, who just returned to Nigeria after serving a jail term in a UK prison for money laundering, has said he knows those behind his ordeal. Ibori, who dismissed claims that he is a thief, says those behind the circumstances that landed him in a London prison had wanted to confine him to a corner where he will not be seen again. The former governor spoke at a church thanksgiving, which was organized in his honor by friends and relatives at the First Baptist Church in O'Hara, Delta State. Ibori, who claims to have been wrongly accused and maligned, recalls that while he was in prison, his major preoccupation was the plight of his people. He, however, says that he had strong faith in God that he would return home. A mass communication scholar, Professor Raphael Akinfeliye, has expressed concern over the information being disseminated through the social media platform in the country. Akinfeliye, who was disturbed by such trend of news reportage, described most of the social media practitioners as information traffickers and not journalists. The mass communication scholar, who is the chairman of Center of Excellence, Multimedia and Cinematography, Department of the University of Lagos, was speaking on a Rock City FM radio program in Abeokuta as part of the activities marking the 2017 World Radio Day. Akinfeliye explains that most of the news being disseminated by the Nigeria social media lacked credibility and accuracy because most of the practitioners are not trained journalists. The professor of mass communication enjoined social media operators to be more socially responsible by verifying the credibility and accuracy of the sources of information. Akinfeliye, however, asked the traditional media, including newspapers, magazines, radio, and television, to live up to their ethical responsibilities to justify being called the fourth estate of Ram. Presidency has blamed liver and kidney diseases now being recorded in Nigerian hospitals on the processing of food in the country. Science and Technology Minister Dr. Ogbonnaya Ono made this known while defending the 2017 budgetary allocation of his ministry before the Joint Finance and Appropriation Committees of the National Assembly. According to the minister, government is considering the withdrawal of grinding machines in markets and stores because it has discovered that they are responsible for the rising cases of metal poisoning in diets. The minister says government intends to introduce stainless steel processing machines for the processing of grains, tomatoes, and onions. Ono also told the National Assembly committees that about 80% of tomato paste and purees which are being imported into the country are not fit for human consumption, according to reports by the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC. You're still listening to the Midday News from Rock City 101.9 FM. Up next, we bring you foreign, business, and sports news. Please stay with us. In foreign, tens of thousands of people in Mexico have taken to the streets to protest against Donald Trump's immigration policies and plan for a border wall. Demonstrators in more than a dozen Mexican cities, dressed in white, waved Mexican flags and anti-Trump placards. They also criticized Mexican President Enrique Pena Nieto for failing to tackle corruption and reduce violence. Mr. Trump's plan to build a wall along the U.S. border with Mexico has angered citizens in the country, and Mr. Pena Nieto has consistently refused to meet the U.S. president's demands to pay for it. Mr. Trump has already signed an executive order for an impassable physical barrier along the U.S. border with Mexico and also insisted that the Mexican people reimburse the U.S. The UN Security Council is set to hold emergency talks about North Korea's latest ballistic missile launch. The United States, Japan, and South Korea requested the session. North Korea launched the missile on Sunday morning, and South Korean military officials said it traveled about 500 kilometers before landing in the Sea of Japan. In North Korea, the state-run KCN News Agency celebrated the test of what it called a Korean-style new-type strategic weapon system and boasted that it was overseen by leader Kim Jong-un. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe called North Korea's actions absolutely intolerable. More than 180,000 people in Northern California have been told to evacuate their homes after an overflow channel at the tallest dam in the U.S. was weakened by heavy rainfall. Officials said the emergency spillway of the 770 feet tall Orville Dam is close to collapse, and the excess water has now stopped flowing. Water levels in the reservoir have risen following heavy rain and snow after years of severe drought. On Thursday, engineers began releasing water from the dam after noticing large chunks of concrete were missing from a spillway. On Friday, California Governor Jerry Brown asked the Federal Emergency Management Agency to declare a major disaster due to flooding and mudslides brought on by storms. In business, the Senate will today hold a public hearing on the 2017 appropriation bill. The public hearing, the first of its kind, aims at obtaining input from major stakeholders before the National Assembly will begin deliberation on the bill. 59 organizations, including the Organized Labor, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Nigerian Bar Association, have all been invited to the public hearing that will last 2 days. Senate spokesman Aliyu Abdullahi, who made this known, says the invited organizations had been asked to submit memorandum ahead of the hearing. He says that senators in the past week had suspended regular plenary to allow the dispense of the budgetary allocations by the ministries, departments, and agencies before its various committee. The over 7 trillion naira budget was submitted by President Muhammadu Buhari to a joint sitting of the National Assembly last December. Finally, sports news. NPFL leaders Plateau United suffered their first losses of the season after they went down 2-1 at Aqua United. However, the Jaws club remained top of the standing with 17 points from 8 matches, 3 points clear of closest rivals ABS FC, who drew 2-2 at Sherwood Sunshine Stars. There were also home wins for Niger Tornadoes, El Kanemi Warriors, and Nasarawa United, while Katsina United picked up their second straight point on the road, courtesy of a goalless draw at Lobi Stars. FC Ifeanyoba barely managed to beat El Masri of Egypt 1-0, while Wiki Tourist fell 2-0 at Royal Armed Forces of Sierra Leone as Nigerian clubs began their quest in the CAF Confederation Cup. Home team Ifeanyoba had to wait till 2 minutes from the time before they could stop El Masri, courtesy of a goal by Cameroonian midfielder Tamen Medrano. However, Wiki Tourists were not so lucky in Freetown as they lost 2-0 to the Army team, RSLAF, and both teams have a second chance to ensure qualification to the next round of the competition next weekend. That was the midday news, and just before we go, the major stories once again. Ogun Assembly invited top government officials over 4 billion naira fertilizer credit. Presidency recovered fresh $151 million and 4 billion naira through whistleblower volunteers. Former Governor Ibori said he knows those behind his UK prison ordeal. Presidency blamed metal in food processing for liver and kidney diseases. While on the foreign scene, he reported that Mexicans protested against Trump's immigration plan and border wall. And homes evacuated in California as U.S. tourist dam faced collapse. For more stories and to listen to us live, please log on to our website www.rockcityfmradio.com/live. Thank you very much for listening. I am Chiene Ebron. Good afternoon.